in the heart of a colossal space station where 17 alien species collide. A young human girl is cornered by powerful bullies who tear open her only bag and freeze in horror when they discover a mysterious uniform marked with a symbol feared across the galaxy. A symbol that could either save her life or expose a dangerous secret that was never meant to be. Field. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where you're watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The first thing they dumped was a dented water flask. The second was a pocket toolkit with 3 missing bits. The third was a folded uniform the color of deep ocean. And that was the moment 3 Kragan bullies forgot how to breathe. Port Harmony's market ring smelled like hot coolant and sweet spice. 1,000 stalls stitched together by neon cables and rumor. Lena Carver shouldered through the crowd, hugging her old canvas pack the way a diver clutches air. She was late for her first real shift with Orbit Haulage, and late was not the first impression she wanted to make on Riven Halden, a manager known for timing his frown to the second. She didn't notice the Kragans until they were too close for comfort. Jor had scar-laced cheek ridges, Melk wore a shoulder band of hammered coin, and Vesh let his claws tap-tap against the bulkhead like a metronome set to trouble. They moved with the easy confidence of people who never expected to be challenged. Human, Jor clicked, and the translator pinned a flat tone to the word. Pause. Lena didn't. The lift to the maintenance levels was 20 paces away, 19, 18. A heavy hand found her shoulder. The world narrowed to gray-green fingers and stale breath. We're educating you, Melk said, as if stating station ordnance. We examine the pack. You learn humility. They hooked the strap, tugged, and the seam surrendered with a sad little rip. Into the air tumbled her life. Ration packets, a cheap multi-spanner, a fabric roll of patched socks. Then Jor's hand plunged deeper and pulled up the folded blue. For a long breath, the market's clamor faded. The fabric hung in the recycled air. The crest on the breast, an earth cradled by olive branches, a slimline shield behind, caught a wash of stall light. Vesh's claws stopped tapping. Melk's jaw shifted. Jor's gaze flicked from the emblem to Lena's face and back again, 3 times as if checking for a trap. "XGC," he said quietly. The translator softened, almost respectful. Lena didn't move. Her heartbeat was a hammer in a distant room. "Pick up my things," she said, steady as a plumb line. "All of them." Vesh's chin dipped. They gathered each scattered item with careful hands, as if everything might shatter with a wrong sound. The uniform they offered back last, arms extended, eyes lowered. The crowd pretended not to watch because pretending was a currency here. The lift doors opened with a patient sigh. Lena stepped inside, pulled her pack tight, and only then let out the breath she'd been hoarding. Alone with humming rails and a flicker of her reflection in the polished panel, she traced the emblem with a thumb. The uniform wasn't hers. It belonged to Nora Carver, her older sister, an Earth Guardian Corps commander who had died 3 years ago in the ambush at the Luna Corridor. Nora had taught her to solder, to stand up straight, and to say no like a door that actually shuts. The lift delivered her to Orbit Haulage's maintenance hub, a grid of consoles, cabinets, and people doing quiet work that kept louder people alive. Riven Halden glanced up, clocked the time, and stopped just shy of a reprimand when he saw the rip in her pack and the way she held the blue. "You're 2 minutes late," he said. "There were complications," she replied. "I'm here to work." Riven's eyes were the color of old steel. "Good. Level 32, Bay C gravity regulator is acting like a storm tide. We don't need poetry. We need balance." Auric Val, a hulking cauldron with bronze scales and a humor that lived behind his eyes, stood by the door like a friendly wall. "Watch your step down there," he rumbled. "The crates have opinions. Crates and I will negotiate," Lena said, trying on a grin that almost fit. As she headed for Bay C, Riven's voice followed, softer. "Cover that uniform. Symbols carry heat. Some will warm to you. Some will burn. Be certain when you wear it, even if only in your bag." Lena nodded without turning. "I prefer tools to symbols," she said. "But sometimes tools are symbols and symbols are tools." The corridor air tasted of copper. She walked faster. In a place like Port Harmony, a rumor could cross decks quicker than a tram. By the time Lena reached Bay C, 3 Kragans went pale, had become a human, blistered a gang with a look. She didn't hear it. She was already listening for the song of a failing machine. Inside, the gravity regulator thrummed off-key. Containers canted at uneasy angles. A crate labeled in Valari script gave off a faint magnetic hiss. Lena exhaled, rolled her shoulders, and spoke to the room the way Nora spoke to a tense bridge. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's make order where the world wrinkled." The work began, and somewhere upspin, 3 Kragans reconsidered their hobby. Bay C felt like the floor wanted to shrug. Not a full toss, more the awkward half-shrug of someone pretending nothing is wrong. Lena set her toolkit down and crouched by the regulator's access panel. The diagnostic readout jittered in a way that suggested, "I'm fine," while sending contradictory data like a bad poker face. She slipped a probe into the access port. The data stabilized just enough to confess. Field strength flickered. Phase alignment drifted. Coils running hot despite an ordinary load. She glanced at the stenciled warnings along the bulkhead and then at the neighboring crate whose label pulsed a gentle teal. The crate belonged to a Valari trader known for musical speech and questionable paperwork. "Magnetic containment," it declared. "Do not disturb," it begged. The crate hummed to itself like it had swallowed a beehive. "That's too close," Lena murmured. She pinged the station layout, sketched the field lines in her head, and saw it. The magnetic hum from the Valari container slurred into the regulator's harmonics, stressing the coil until microfractures whispered open. "We'll fix the symptom," she told the machinery, "and then we'll fix the cause." Orek Val arrived with 2 security techs in the relaxed stance of a boulder that could sprint if needed. "Report," he said. "A containment crate is singing the wrong harmony to the gravity coils," Lena answered. "Move it 3 meters, shielded side toward the regulator, and I'll swap a cracked coil and retune the field." Orek's brow ridges lifted. "Direct," he said. "I prefer direct." "Indirect is for politics," Lena replied and handed him a printed diagram. "This is the safest path through the maze." The techs wrestled the Valari crate onto a grav sled. The hum shifted as they angled the shielded face outward. The regulator's tremor softened, like a headache easing when someone finally dims the lights. Lena removed the cracked coil with quiet hands, treating it like a bird with a bent wing. Microfractures glittered across the surface in a spiderweb shimmer. She slotted in a fresh coil, locked the clamps, and dialed the harmonics until the field graph traced a clean, single line. The containers stopped leaning. The floor remembered how to be reliable. "Bay C stable," she said. "Recommend the operations manager stop approving storage charts that pair magnets with gravity lunches." Orek made a sound that might have been laughter if laughter had armor. "You'll make friends with the honest and enemies with the careless," he warned, not unkind. "Take care which ones you collect." "I'm not here to collect," Lena said. "I'm here to keep things from falling." As she packed her tools, a pair of workers from a quiet species called the Kayla slipped her a small box of seed cakes with murmured thanks. A taller, more ornate visitor sniffed as if the air offended him, and left without speaking. Riven Halden's comm pinged her wrist. "Good work. Move to 31, Bay A." A list of stubborn faults scrolled after. Days blurred into a rhythm. Walk, listen, mend. Orbit Haulage gear was an anthology of technologies, each with its own dialect. Lena learned their moods the way a musician learns a hall, sensing where sound swells or dies. She wrote down quick reference notes with simple sketches so anyone, human, Kragan, Cauldron, could follow. Her diagrams began spreading through the maintenance crews like small, useful songs. Not everyone loved her songs. One supervisor from a proud house muttered about humans forgetting their place. Another muttered the opposite. Humans trying to leap several places at once. Lena kept her head down and her standards high. When the work was right, the noise fell away. On a rare long break, she sat in the quiet nook behind an equipment bay and unfolded the blue uniform. She laid it across her knees, palms resting on the cloth as if balancing a story. Nora's name strip seemed to glow in the soft light. "I won't pretend to be you," Lena whispered. "I'll just be good at being me." She folded the fabric and tucked it deep again. Symbols could be shields or bullhorns. She didn't want either. She wanted to be a set of steady hands when the station shook. Riven found her an hour later and handed over a slate. "The Valari merchant lodged a complaint," he said dryly, "that our lowly tech moved his sacred cargo." replied that our lowly tech prevented a cargo ballet with gravity as a clumsy partner. I can write a guideline for placement, Lena offered. Plain language, pictures, more prevention, less apology. Do it, Riven said. And make it foolproof. Fools are creative, Lena said. But I'll try. The next cycle, she tested the guideline by giving it to a new recruit who'd never installed a field dampener before. 10 minutes later, the recruit had done it correctly, smiling like someone who just learned their own hands could be trusted. Later that week, as Lena was swapping a thermal sensor on level 28, the station's comm pulse spiked into alarm. Sirens trilled, low and serious. Her comm band surged with a priority banner from Riven Halden. Report to Docking Bay 17 immediately. Reactor concern. This is not a drill. The sensor in her palm suddenly weighed as much as a choice. Lena ran. Docking Bay 17, designed for orderly trade, now looked like a scene that had forgotten how to breathe. Emergency barriers shone along the perimeter. Security posted a quiet circle against panic. The freighter Starwind Courier held steady at the clamps, its hull paint flaked by 1,000 small journeys. Riven met Lena at the cordon with Orek at his side. Station engineering is busy putting air back in 3 residential blocks, Riven said, voice clipped. We have a reactor flirting with catastrophe, docking clamps locked by protocol, and a crew down an engineer. What reactor class? Lena asked, already cataloging shapes and solutions. Talion MK8, Orek said. Stubborn but honest when treated right. I know that design, Lena said. I can try. Captain Thalen of the Starwind Courier, tall, quiet, with a face like a lined map, came on the comm. Any help is better than waiting for luck, he said. We've got fluctuations in the containment field. Our engineer Rue caught a power surge and is out. A tech hustled up with a radiation suit. It wasn't the newest. It was the suit they had. Lena stepped into it with the deliberate calm of someone who knows fear is present, but not in charge. As the seals clicked home, Riven leaned in, eyes narrowed. You have 20 minutes inside the conduit at current levels, he said. After that, you're bargaining with biology. Then I won't stay 21, Lena said. The airlock cycled onto the Starwind Courier. The emergency lighting washed everything in warning red. The deck shuddered, not violently, but in the rhythm of a heart-forgetting tempo. A deckhand named Ryu, translucent-skinned like a ghost lit from within, guided Lena to engineering at a near run. The heat hit first, a heavy wall. Alarms layered on alarms. The containment readout stuttered between numbers nobody wanted. Lena studied the schematic, fingertips hovering over the panel as if warming them on a fire. We're losing coherence in the field harmonics, she said. Is anything in cargo that emits complex electromagnetic patterns? Captain Thalen hesitated. Lumen shard crystals, he admitted. Sealed in Bay 3. Lucrative, temperamental. If the shielding is older than bragging, those crystals are singing to your reactor, Lena said. Move them to the far corner, shielded side outward, and add an extra layer of dampening if you have it. On it, Ryu said. Already sprinting. Lena located the manual access to the field generators. A crawl space beside the core, far hotter than any sane tourist spot. She clipped a tether, took one breath for Nora, and slid inside. The conduit was a tight throat of metal. Her gloves skated on the warm plating. The dosimeter's soft tick-tick became an impatient drum. She reached the adjustment manifold and connected her diagnostic lead. The screen flickered like a nervous eye, then resolved into messy waves. I see the resonance, she said, voice even. I'm going to shift frequency in microsteps. Call out field integrity. 71% and wobbling, Ryu said from the console she'd claimed. Captain reports cargo team is moving the crystals. Lena tuned the first modulator. The field steadied a fraction. She tuned the second, then the third, nudging the reactor's song so it wouldn't harmonize with the lumen shard whisper. Sweat crawled down her neck. The suit complained without words. 80, Ryu called. 83, hold. A fresh surge tried to throw her off. Lena rode it, countered, and retuned. The moment felt like holding a heavy door against wind while finding the right wedge by touch. 88, Ryu said. Temperature trending down. Lock the new baseline, Lena said. Then we'll taper to nominal. She finished the sequence, fingers steady even when the dosimeter sang too loud. The core's rhythm eased into something that reminded her of a cat deciding not to scratch. Numbers slipped out of red into orange, then yellow. 91 and climbing, Ryu said, voice breaking into relief. Captain reports the crystals are now double-shielded. Lena backed out of the conduit, limbs heavy, head light. The suit's interior felt too small. She reached clear, braced on a rail, and counted to 5 because counting is a kind of spell. Captain Thalen reached engineering, eyes bright with the kind of thanks that doesn't require fancy words. You gave us back our ship, he said. And maybe this bay. The station likes existing, Lena said. Please let it keep the habit. They laughed, a little shaky. Then the medic cart arrived, and Lena's legs turned to water at last. The world narrowed to a soft bed of light, a Meridian healer's calm voice, and the feeling of being carried through a door she didn't remember opening. Somewhere beyond the blur, Riven Halden spoke quietly into a channel that carried news with alarming speed. The name left his lips, Lena Carver, and the station took note. The medbay smelled like clean rain and new bandages. Lena woke under a dim ceiling that adjusted its brightness to kindness. Meridian medic named Ela sat by her bed, luminous eyes reflecting her own tired face. Anti-radiation therapy is flowing, Ela said, offering water. You'll feel wrung out for a few days. No heroics near reactors for at least a month. I'll try negotiating with air ducts instead, Lena said, sipping. They're less dramatic. Riven Halden and Auric Val appeared at the doorway, their usual gravity softened by the sight of her awake. Auric's nod was small and proud. Riven's mouth did something almost like a smile. Good work, Riven said. That's the formal version. The informal version is that I'm relieved you're alive. Before Lena could answer, 3 Kragans entered, not in swagger, but in ceremony. Their uniforms carried diplomat insignia, and the lead, Commander Sarix, wore crimson cheek bands that caught the light. Technician Lena Carver, Sarix said, voice roughened by the Kragan tongue and gentled by the translator. The blast radius from a reactor breach here would have reached level 9. That includes our mission quarters. You preserved Kragan lives yesterday. This acknowledgement is recorded. She performed a Kragan gesture of respect rarely extended to outsiders. In that brief bow, a piece of old animosity loosened like a stubborn bolt finally turning. I didn't know your quarters were in danger, Lena said. Honesty first. I just didn't want anyone to get hurt. Intention is good, Sarix said. Outcome is better. We remember. After they left, a tall human with gray at his temples stepped into the quiet, wearing the kind of suit that travels with authority. Calder Wynn, he said. Regional Director, Orbit Haulage. I came as soon as I heard. Lena tried to sit up straighter. Isla adjusted the bed to meet her halfway. Your manager tells me you've been here less than 2 months, Wynn said. Your work history says junior tech. Yesterday says situational leader with excellent judgment. We have an opening for Chief Technical Officer on Port Harmony. If you accept, you'll oversee systems, people, and the standards that keep both alive. For a beat, the room seemed to hold its breath. Lena thought of Nora's uniform folded in her pack, of the crest that made bullies nervous and strangers respectful, of the simple dignity of a fixed coil and a balanced field. I need a day, she said. Maybe 2. I want the yes to be clean. Take 3, Wynn said, smiling. Use them all. They left her with sleep and a horizon of possibilities. In the quiet, Lena realized the question in her head had changed. It was no longer what would Nora do. It was what would Nora advise me to do, knowing I am not her. The answer came like a slow dawn. Choose the path that turns your skills into shelter for others. 2 mornings later, Lena stood in her small quarters, the uniform spread across her bunk like a captured sky. She placed it into a shadow box she'd traded for with a Kayla artisan, a simple frame with tempered glass and a soft backing. Under the crest, she added a narrow strip of etched alloy. Nora Carver, loved beyond titles. She touched the glass, not as goodbye, but as thank you. Auric stopped by on his off hours, filling the doorway with a careful kind of warmth. Rumor says you're hesitating, he said. Rumor is outdated, Lena answered. I'm going to say yes. Good, Auric said. Shadows don't vanish when we step forward. They just fall behind us where they belong. In the operations center a week later, The world looked different and exactly the same. Status boards shimmered with the morning's work. Crews moved with a purpose that came from trust. As Quito, Lena read the reports with new eyes. Not heavier, just wider. She greenlit a set of safety posters built from her plain language guides, started a cross-species training circle, where anyone could teach and anyone could ask, and updated the cargo placement rules so magnets and gravity stopped arguing in the dark. Then a message blinked on her console, tagged diplomatic priority. The Earth Ambassador's office had noticed the reactor incident, the Kragan commendation, and her steady weeks before that. Would she consider serving as liaison to the Concord Technical Exchange, sharing and learning across species? Old reflexes tried to whisper that it was too bright a light. New instincts said brightness is useful when you're drawing a clearer map. She closed her eyes, pictured Nora's smile, and felt the quiet nudge that said, "This is also service, little sister," differently named. Lena opened her eyes and saved the message to a folder labeled Bridges. Then the desk pinged again. Maintenance alert. Level 32, Bay C. A familiar ring. A known song. She stood, thumbed the comm. "Team, let's go see what wants to wobble and teach it how to stand," she said. A grin tugging one corner of her mouth. Before she left, she toggled the recorder and spoke a short note she'd been composing in her head since medbay. A welcome for new trainees. "If you're listening," she said, "you belong here. Your hands can be steady. Your mind can be brave. When the room gets loud, find the problem that says help and answer it. Titles matter less than the work you choose to do. We fix things so people can keep their lives intact. That's the kind of story worth telling, and you get to tell it every shift." She clicked stop, slipped her toolkit strap over one shoulder, and headed for the lift with her team, laughter riding alongside the plans. The doors closed on the operations center and opened on the practical magic of making a complex place behave. And if you stayed with this tale to the last line, treat yourself to another story on the channel. Pick the one blinking at you from the end screen. Leave a few words in the comments about what sparked your curiosity. Share the video with a friend who likes quiet heroes and tap subscribe if you want more calm, steady adventures in the wild, wide middle of the galaxy. Big hug, see you on the next run.